All right, my friends, it is right on time, and I am so glad that you are all here. And it is just a joy to see faces of people that I've retreated with, um, and also some I've never met before in real life, which that's one of the silver linings we're finding. Um, of this season that we are in. And also some of you I don't know at all, which is such a privilege and a treat to know that you are trusting me and this space and this time. So I'm honored in that way, and I'm just glad that you're here. So thank you for taking time out of your evening to be present with us, and those that are listening in on the recording later, you are just as present with us now, and we're going to hold you in our prayers also. So thank you for showing up and being willing to take care of yourself tonight in maybe a new way, maybe not. So the reason I say that is I'm still clicking. And I'll tell this story. I'm not very good at multitasking, my friends. And it's because I tell my husband it's because I had a stroke and brain surgery. And after brain surgery, it's very difficult to multitask. And he likes to tell me I cannot use that as an excuse anymore because it's been so long. And I like to tell him he cannot tell me that unless he's also had brain surgery. So we're going to go with the fact that multitasking can sometimes be hard. But in what we're talking about tonight, it is a benefit because we don't need to be doing 27,000 things at once. All right. Everybody that is here is in. I'm just going to offer you a short little thank you for being here. I'm honored and grateful, truly. And I hope that tonight, as you are present, that maybe there are some things that you know, and maybe there are some things that you hear tonight that aren't new to you. But maybe there's something that just tickles your heart and your mind in a way that invites you back to it and reminds you that God is here and present with you in this season. So no matter if you learn something brand new or are reminded of something that God wants you to hear tonight, I hope that that is what you'll take away. So I'd like to offer us just a short prayer, and then I'm going to slide my little screen over, and I practiced this to make sure that y'all can see my slides as we go. So thank you for being here, and let's open up with a word of prayer. Creator God, I just thank you for space, that we can be present with each other in this way. And I just pray that it is a safe space, that we can meet you here in this time and in this way tonight, and know that we're all coming from different places and different scenarios, but we're all walking through something right now. And so God, in this season that is unprecedented and unknown, I just pray that you'll stir our hearts and our minds together as we draw near to you. And together that you will draw us closer, even though we're separate in different places and in our homes, that you'll remind us what community is, and you'll remind us how you care about each and every one of us. And that you created us and made us, and that you love our souls, and you want us to love them too. So thank you, God. Thank you for these people that are present here and the way in which we are journeying together. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, so here goes the magic button. Okay. So I'm going to remind you all, if you haven't muted, to just go ahead and do that, just so that we don't have any background noise distractions. And give me a nod if you guys can see my screen. Is it working? Yes, excellent. Fantastic. So we are here tonight, gathered together and connecting through the beautiful gift of who knew what that Zoom would boom in 2020. I have been offering spiritual direction through Zoom for many years and actually started doing distance spiritual direction when I started my practicum, which was probably 2011. So I've been, and we did Skype first originally. So it's been a long season of doing online work, but not in this way, not because we have to. And so thank you for showing up in what I hope is safe space for you tonight. And I have to move my little thing so I can click the screen over here. There we go. So that is my launching point for our invitation, and that is that safe space matters. I hope you experience safe space not only here tonight, but are reminded that safe space matters in your own life, in your own home. And I asked the question when you registered for this, how is it with your soul? And I just want to pause with that for just a moment and ask you to think in this moment right now. So many of you answered that question, and I have been praying for all of you as I received those because we're going through a lot of different things. And so thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty. And for those of you who didn't put anything, that's totally okay too, because we don't always know how it is with our soul. So that's the first question we have to ask ourselves tonight. And I just invite you to pause and ask yourself, how is it with your soul? And then I want to invite you to notice that whatever you're feeling tonight is honored. Some of us are small business owners and maybe are overwhelmed by different scenarios that we're having to rethink our work and our life and our calling and the way we keep our doors open. Some of us are going through, job losses and crises and family crises, and some of us are worried about our family members and our health. There's just so much that's happening in our world and beyond the pandemic, right? So whatever you're feeling right now is honored. There is no right and there is no wrong. And I just want you to know and be invited into that realization that wherever you are is okay. And a lot of us are grieving. We're grieving many different kinds of losses. It may be a grief that we're experiencing from a loved one. I actually had another friend lose a parent today, and amidst this pandemic, and it was to coronavirus. And so we know that grief is real in regards to death, but a lot of times we don't honor and recognize that grief is real in other parts of our lives. And so we may be grieving things like loss of connection with coworkers or friends or family members. We may just be processing grief of losing our routine or structure, or even of knowing what's coming next. There's so much that we are all processing right now, and grief is real. One thing that I really love this Henry Nouwen quote, and actually I just did what I said I was going to remind you of, and every time I move the slide, I'm going to take a deep breath. So I'm going to invite you to do the same thing. When I move this slide forward, I just invite you to take a deep breath. Breathing is important, and I know you're not teaching and talking like I am, but we can still sit in stagnant places and hold on to things and not take a breath. So keep breathing as we go. Henry Nouwen, in the terrain of spiritual life, we need guides. Your soul is fragile. I pray that you have people in your life right now that you trust and that you're companioning with. And one of the questions I want to invite you to before we get much further is, who are your guides? Who do you look to on your soul journey? And do you have guides? It might be a pastor, it might be a therapist or a counselor, it might be a soul friend or a spiritual director or a teacher in some way who's impacted you and your soul. So I invite you to pause with that question for a moment and maybe jot down an answer if you have one. And if you don't, I invite you to ponder that. The next question that I invite you to, as you honor and recognize that your soul is fragile, is, do you trust your guides? Do you trust your guides? We are all going through a journey right now. 2020 is hard. And so even your guides are going through a journey right now and are on a challenging road, because the entire world is amidst a challenging road of unprecedented times. And so I invite you to ask yourself, are your guides safe? Are they good companions for you in this season? And do you trust them with your soul care? I am really passionate as a trauma survivor in several different aspects of my life, and I believe that most of us have survived traumas. I wouldn't say that every single person in the world has, because until you're a certain age you may not have, but we all have our own stories, and we all have some sort of trauma, challenge, burden in our life that we carry. And so it's really important that the people you look to honor that and recognize that your soul is fragile and that you can, in return, trust them to walk alongside you. One thing I wanted to ask you here, I don't know about you guys, but my home is a lot busier than it used to be. So not everyone has housemates, family members, companions that live under their roof, but I do. And if you're finding yourself that your only companions right now are the people that live in your home, I'm going to invite you to look outside that box, because I don't know about you, but the ones I see all the time, my spouse asked me the other day, "Are you tired of us yet?" And I thought, is there a right answer to this question? I'm afraid about how I shall answer that one. So if you're only looking to those you live with, I invite you to look outside the walls. And if you live alone, I really invite you to live outside the walls. So important, or to look outside your walls. Expand your circle a bit. Even though it's quarantine, it is possible. We're proving that tonight. And I'm just so happy to see your faces tonight. All right. If you didn't catch it earlier, God didn't create us to be alone in this world. God created us for companionship. And even amidst challenging times, our with God life can invite us into leaning on each other more than we ever have before. And guess what? You're doing that because you're here tonight. So thank you. Thank you for showing up and being here. So take a deep breath. We're going to change slides. You're not supposed to be alone. Hildegard quote, "God hugs you. You are encircled by the arms of the mystery of God." God hugs you. Have you ever thought about that? When I feel lonely these days, and I do, I think we all do, and that's one reason I felt really stirred to do this workshop. It's because I've been doing some deep work to remain grounded and connected to God as it relates to myself and to my calling and what I'm called to do. And that's shifted and it's looked different. And so I've had to really dig into the tools that I teach and practice them, not just talk about them or teach them, but actually practice them. And when I do that, I'm reminded that God is here. So times of crisis really teach us who our people are, right? And this can be one of those times that we're offered an invitation to notice and understand who are those people in our life that we can lean on, that we are connected to, that we can send a text to in the middle of the day and say, I'm struggling today, or how are you today? How's your soul? What's it look like? What's going on in your world? And guess what? We are the presence of God to one another. When we allow God to hug us, we can in turn hug and care and love on one another. So just be reminded tonight, you're not supposed to be alone. God is here. Times of crisis. This is actually a flashback to my, the day, I think this was the day we celebrated Christmas, which would have been January after my stroke in December. So December 2005, January 2006. And this time of crisis for me was one that really invited me closer to God. It was a time that you would have thought I wouldn't be appreciative for, but it changed my life and it drew me nearer to God than I ever anticipated. I wasn't able to leave my home for about 6 months. I actually did in-home physical therapy. I couldn't drive because I'd been having seizures. And if you've glimpsed into my book or been on retreat with me, I had a stroke on my 31st birthday that caused paralysis on my left side, and it changed my life. You have a story too, and it may not look like mine, but it looks like yours. And in times of crisis, we learn and lean on the God who created us, or we turn away. And I think this is really an invitation to lean in closer as we're in a time of crisis now more than ever. Was I thankful for this crisis in my life? Not really, but also yes. It gave me a moment to care for myself in new ways when everything else was stripped away. It gave me a chance to draw nearer to God and the people that walk alongside me. It gave me a chance to draw nearer to practices that I didn't know about and to lean on God in new ways in my home because I couldn't leave my house, and I didn't leave my house for quite a while. I was having anxiety attacks when I left after such a long hospital stay, and I think that might be one thing that has invited me now into this season of really being able to embrace being at home, because I've done this before. It's hard, but we can do it when we reach out and connect to each other through times of crisis. Take a deep breath, changing the slides. But how, Whitney? That's why we're here. I love this quote from Paula DRC, and if you know her or her story at all, she lost her family in a tragic accident. And she has this quote that says, "How you approach something determines what you will see." I had an opportunity to hear her speak several years ago and was so grateful for her perspective, her ability to have perspective in life. And that's truly what I'm inviting you to have tonight, is a new perspective and response. So first, we're acknowledging the grief, right? We're acknowledging that we're grieving our losses of routine or work or income or connection or community or worship, whatever our grieving is right now. And it can be very compound and lots of those things. We acknowledge our grief for ourselves, also going to acknowledge it for others. Perspective, when we really invite ourselves into opening up our perspective and being willing to look through another person's lens, we're reminded that we're all going through something right now. And so shifting that perspective and maybe offering a little extra grace to yourself and to those people that you might be struggling with is a real opportunity. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was an opportunity. Noise control, the volume of the world and life. I really believe and know that because of my own story, and when I had my brain surgery, I had a very difficult time processing loud noises. I had a very difficult time processing more than one sound at a time. And so if a television was on in the room and then someone was speaking to me, I had a very difficult time tuning in to what I was supposed to be hearing because the noises of the world were taking me away from what I was supposed to be present with. That's a great, great lesson, even though it really stunk. I want to say worse words than that, but we're recording this, so I won't, so nobody can make a meme out of my bad words. It was awful. And it also taught me to turn down the noise. So maybe that means turning off the TV. Maybe that means turning off the radio in your car. Maybe that means pausing the noise inside of your head for just a few moments and inviting yourself into a little bit of quiet. Admission, I scroll too much. So in a season where I start to feel overwhelmed or anxious or distracted or bored or tired or hungry, I may pick up my smartphone and start using my thumb and scroll. And I use the excuse that, oh, but I'm a small business owner and I need to check on the studio page and make sure nobody's asked any questions. And I open it up and get distracted. And the next thing you know, I'm rabbit chasing or squirrel chasing, whatever that is. All the different posts and overwhelmed with what I'm reading. Social media is noise. And I do believe it can be healthy. I believe watching the news can be healthy. I believe listening to the radio can be healthy. But I don't think we have to do it all at the same time. So scroll less, turn down the TV and the radio, and guess what? It's even okay to mute people for a little while if they are overwhelming your soul. It's okay. Quiet, I mentioned pausing in your mind. So we have these tapes that we play in our head. And if you're human, you have some tapes that you play in your head. Anybody have tapes that they play in their head? Tapes of, well, what if this happens? Well, but maybe that's going to happen. Well, but then I've got to worry about this. And oh, but my parents this and my child that and my work this and I'm not good enough and I'm not smart enough and I'm too big or I'm too small or I'm too this or I'm too that. We have these tapes that we play in our head. And so the opportunity to quiet our minds is a huge one. And it's one I'm going to be touching on again in a few moments. I'm a big believer in meditation. Move your body is a great way when you say, but how? Move that body God gave you. It's the house of your soul. You live inside of this person that God created, and God designed you to have your heart pumping and blood flowing and lungs being used. And when we don't move our bodies, it can be really hard to approach things with new perspective because we get stuck inside ourselves and inside those minds. Practice presence. Do something for someone else. And when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond or react. Get involved. Do something for someone else. I'm passionate about social justice work, and right now that's one of the things that's changing my perspective more than ever, is seeing people who are living very different lives than my own, and that invite me to gain a new perspective for my own life and for theirs too. So, presence and response. Take a deep breath. God is here. There is no place in my soul, no corner of my character where God is not. Evelyn Underhill. I have to throw in the Mystics because they're just my favorite, and I have so many quotes that I would love to share with you. But some of these tonight are some of my absolute favorites. So you'll see them sprinkled along the way. I'm going to pause and invite you into a practice that really rescued me, so to speak, on the day of my stroke and in my own journey. And I have so much teaching I want to share with you tonight that I really felt like it was important to also experience. So we won't do this as long as I would offer it, maybe in a one-on-one spiritual direction session or in a yoga class or in a workshop just on breath. But we're just going to pause and practice a short breath prayer together all at once. So I invite you just to set your pen down if it's in your hand. Maybe close your eyes. I'm going to close mine. It's okay. It might feel strange that we're on the computer and closing our eyes, but if it feels safe, close your eyes. If not, just let your gaze fall down the tip of your nose. This experience, this practice met me on the day of my stroke and in my crisis, and honestly and truly, it has changed my life. I practice it all the time. And so I invite you now to just notice your breath as you breathe in through your nose. See how fully and deeply you can send it into your diaphragm. And then just breathe out, letting all of that air out of your body. This time, as you breathe in, I invite you to say a name of God that brings you peace, comfort, companionship. It could be Jesus, Yahweh, Lord, Creator. It could be something abstract or something that you use a lot. Just begin to inhale your name of God. And then on your next exhale, start pondering what your longing is tonight. Maybe it's take care of my soul, or stir my soul, spark my soul, ignite my soul. Maybe it's give me peace, show me the way. Just take a moment and ponder your longing. It can be anything at all, not one that I've named. Try to make it just a few words. And rather than overthinking it, just let the next few words that rise up be your exhale. Inhaling your name of God. Exhaling the longing of your heart. Inhaling your name of God. Exhaling the longing of your heart. Just practice that for a few more breaths. And then when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes, coming back into the present, and be reminded that God is as close as your breath. So in these days to come, use your breath and know that God is here, even during a pandemic. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. That from Julian and This Too Shall Pass have been very much on the forefront of my prayers and my mind lately. So during a pandemic, we should be reminded that God is here. And God is as close as our breath now as God is in those mountaintop moments, even if it's hard to see. What are you telling yourself right now? Are you telling yourself, this too shall pass and all shall be well? Or are you playing other tapes in your head that tell you other things? And some of us, and I'm hearing through spiritual direction even, that some of us are savoring a slower pace and have been fairly stable in jobs and work and not largely impacted by much of the pandemic, so to speak. And I've even heard a nudge of guilt about that lately. So I invite you to notice that whatever you're feeling, remember there's not a right or wrong, but whatever you're feeling in this season and whatever you're noticing and whatever is rising up, that God is here. And you can know that no matter what you're feeling, God is here and as close as your breath. And if you have trouble being reminded of that or noticing that or connecting with that, maybe we revisit some of those earlier reminders about perspective and presence with others. I invite you into those. So, how do we reset at home? What does a soul reset look like? Whitney, you can reset yourself at home. You can push the reset button. I do believe this because I've done it and I've experienced it. And I've been leaning in quite a bit lately into my reset button. And so what does it look like to hit your reset button at home? First thing I'm going to invite you to is creating a safe space. Do you have a physical space at your home that is your space to be alone and to be quiet? It doesn't mean that this is a closet. It might look glorious, but it's a closet. I have to go through a bedroom to get into this closet. It used to be full of stuff. And in January, God nudged me to clean out all the junk. I didn't know why. I didn't know that I was going to be recording my podcast and meeting directees in this closet on Zoom. I had no idea. But God prepared me to purge this closet. And so I now have a space that I can shut 3 doors to get into. And the person or dog that's coming in here is going to have to work really hard to get through all of those layers. I invite you to create some space. It may be the floor of your closet. I have a good friend who used to say the only place she could get away was underneath her hanging clothes. She would open the door of her closet and lay on her floor and breathe. And that's where she prayed. And that's where she connected with God. Maybe it's your car right now. I've offered spiritual direction to someone who had a house full of teenagers and said she didn't think she could meet with me. And we came up with the brainstorm idea that she could go sit in her car in the garage, not running with the door closed, but just sit in her car in the garage and meet for her safe space. So create a safe space and think outside the box what that might be. If you have a safe space in your home, do something simple like lighting a candle, maybe playing some worship music or music that connects you to God. Use some essential oils, aromatherapy, if that's accessible to you. Put out little anchors. Anchors to me are visual reminders that God's presence is near. I have them kind of all throughout. I have a set of prayer beads on my nightstand. I've got my little candle cross beside me. I have a little rock beside me where I'm sitting here talking to you. So put out some anchors and just remind yourself, even if you can't access or feel God's presence, that you're reminded that God is here. have a prayer chair. The chair I'm sitting in is my prayer chair, and I bought this at a garage sale for like $20 10 years ago, and I think it's from 1960, and I love it. So grab a prayer chair and just let it be yours. Leave out your yoga mat if yoga is a practice that works for you. Leave it out, and then when you walk past it, you get on it for 5 minutes. But create your own safe space. Discover the quiet. So this one might be easy and it might be hard. I'm hearing from people who some are very alone right now, and it's very overwhelmingly quiet in their homes, but maybe not in their minds or their hearts. And then I'm hearing from people who have a really hard time finding the quiet right now. So whatever it looks like for you to find the quiet, I invite you to discover that. For me right now, it means having my morning devotional book right beside the dog food. So when that puppy dog wakes me up at 5 a.m. and she's not ready to lay back down, and I get up and I'll pop the little meditation timer on my watch while she's eating breakfast, and then while she wants to play, I get my devotional out and just discover the quiet of the morning. It doesn't mean that we're going to master every aspect of this reset, but if you can just carve out little pieces all at once, if you can carve out little times throughout your day to reset at home, it becomes so much more accessible. Put in your earbuds, turn off the TV, try a new spiritual practice, meditation, centering prayer, crack open an old Bible study, create new routines and habits, because the old ones, my friends, are not working. Meditation, meditation, meditation. If I haven't said meditation once, I'm going to say meditation, meditation, meditation. It is a powerful practice, and it doesn't have to be intimidating. There are so many tools, and I offer them to you. And a lot of them are free. So we're going to journey into those details in just a little bit. But explore some different practices. Try different things. Maybe you explore centering prayer. Maybe you explore meditation. Maybe you explore yoga. But an invitation to try something new. Great. And I'm going to be teaching more on these in detail. So tonight is kind of that tickle your soul overview, and you get hopefully an invitation to say, ooh, that one tickles my soul, or ooh, yes, I need to pay attention to that, or oh, I never liked that. Me neither. It took me a decade to finally practice centering prayer, and it's okay. You start where you are. And then trusted companions. Have your companions, safe space, trusted companions, quiet, and practices. Clearly, I'm passionate about embodied spiritual practices, and I'm passionate about inviting you to be present in the body that God created and God made. So you have everything you need right here. You don't have to buy any fancy tools or go somewhere to push a reset button or to retreat. You really don't. But you do have to have the discipline to create the safe space and then show up and be in it and offer that reset for yourself. So take a deep breath. We're going to click to the next screen. You can explore peace. You can practice presence. You can. Even in hard times, especially in hard times. These are two really powerful quotes. A reminder from Mr. Rogers. There is no normal life that is free of pain. It's the very wrestling with our problems that can be the impetus for our growth. Wow. I don't sit here and share these tips because my life has been easy and I'm so great at soul care. No, my friends, and neither do you. We have struggles, we have challenges, and those give us an opportunity to grow. And then Martin Luther King Jr., which is so appropriate for this season. I love this quote. I think the greatest victory of this period was something internal. The greatest victory of this period was that we armed ourselves with dignity and self-respect. And so words from the past for words into our present, I hope offer you wisdom and a reminder that we can explore peace, especially in hard times. So, what are some of my practices? And let me just say, first of all, I don't do all of these things every day. Please don't put me in that. She doesn't ever do anything. She just lives in some little frou-frou cloud world, not my life. These are my list of things that I'm when I sat down and brainstormed, what am I doing right now? Not all at once, but what am I doing right now that is saving my soul? And so I made a list. I mentioned my puppy. I should have put a picture of my puppy on the screen for you guys because she's just so cute. Walking my dog, playing with my dog is definitely one. Spiritual direction has been part of my life since post-stroke, when I was at home and couldn't go to church because of anxiety at that time. Spiritual direction was something I started participating in because a friend suggested it, and I am so grateful for my time with my spiritual director every month. So that is a huge soul reset. Meditation and yoga, journaling, being involved in social justice work through my church and in my community, practicing the prayer of examen, reading books, learning and unlearning, growing flowers. I have some sunflowers in my front yard right now that I love. Practicing breath prayer, brewing my herbs, reading scripture in Lectio Divina style, kayaking anytime I can get on the water. Kayaking has slightly stressed me lately because I used to be the only person on the water. Well, with my friend or husband, I don't go by myself, but now everybody's kayaking. So if you're a new kayaker, I welcome you to it, but you've made my river noisy. So I'm having to find new places to kayak. So we're going to pause, take a breath, and I want you to ponder, what are your practices? Are you doing some practices right now that are helping your soul, or are there some things you could try that maybe you're stuck right now, and rolling out that yoga mat or breaking out that journal might be really helpful for you? These aren't things we're doing all at once, but they're just things that we're doing a few moments at a time. So take a minute and make a list of your own soul practices that you are practicing or you long to practice. You can continue your list later if you need more time, or continue jotting as we talk. I do invite you to notice that most of my list offers things that are quiet, that bring me quiet, that calm my brain, that calm my body, that calm my heart. Even if they're active, that's why I joke about the kayaking. I'm a calm water, still quiet kayaker. And so most of these are things that are going to help draw me into that body that God made, and still and calm and quiet those tapes that I tell myself, and draw me nearer to God, reset my soul. So, how will you care for your soul? Mary Oliver writes this: when it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it is over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Let us live, my friends. Let us really discover amazement and delight and be the bridegroom. How will you care for your soul? So I invited you to ponder a list and jot some things down. Before we move from here, I'm going to invite you to think of one soul reset, one spiritual practice, one good soul habit that you can do for yourself, either tonight or tomorrow, not waiting until Monday to start, not saying, oh, next week I'm going to really get back to my yoga practice, or next week I'm really going to open my Bible at 4:30 in the morning, or next week I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. But tomorrow or tonight, what's one little kind thing you can do for your soul and yourself that God's inviting you to? Just one. And if we all commit to one thing, we are journeying together right from this moment, because we showed up, we took the risk, we made the opportunity to be present tonight and say our souls matter, and they do. So we are doing this together. If we can all commit to just one thing. Can we do that? One thing? Give me a nod or a thumb or a hello. Good. Awesome. Thank you. We're doing it. Take a deep breath. We're going to the next slide. So I'm going to invite you to be a peace seeker with me and start with yourself. I've given a lot of tips tonight, and one thing that I've really felt called to in the last year or so is to make my resources that God is calling me to create really accessible. And so, but then I'm horrible, I'll admit this, I'm horrible at telling you about them or putting them out in front of you, because I get timid or think, oh, what if it's not what they wanted, or it's not enough of this or enough of that. So guess what? I'm showing up with my soul work to be present with your soul work. My nudge from God last year very clearly, very clearly, was to start a podcast of my meditations. And so I could not shake it. I didn't know how to record a podcast. I had no equipment, no idea, no nothing at all. And I do have a journalism degree, believe it or not, but I didn't know anything about podcasting. That was a long time ago. I didn't know anything about podcasting back then. And so it was a really clear invitation from God that I was to start this meditations podcast. And you guys, I'm floored at what God is doing. There have been over 3,000 downloads of the podcast meditations and prayers. And so it's not professional. It's done in this closet. I mean, professional meaning I don't pay somebody to do it. I do it myself. It's done in this closet. I sit in this closet and I ponder creative prayers and ideas, and I record them for you. And so people are consistently offering me feedback that these meditations are meeting them. I have a student whose spouse is going through COVID-19 right now, and she messaged me that she was waiting in the parking lot of the emergency room this week listening to my podcast. You guys, that is such a privilege that I get to walk with you and be with you in this way. And I don't know anything beyond the fact that God told me to do it. But when you share that you're listening and you hear God through those quiet moments, It means so much. So I'm honored to offer that to you. It's free. If you don't have a podcast app on your phone, like if you're on Apple and listen through that, or Spotify, iHeartRadio, it's on all those places. But you can also listen to it on my website, which is just exploringpeace.com. So please, if you need a free resource, and a 5-minute, a 10-minute, a 15, I think 17, 20 minutes for the longest ones, and those are the yoga nidras, which I love. So use it. It's a free, accessible resource. Spiritual direction, I mentioned, if you're familiar with this ministry, it's truly changed my life, and I'm so grateful. I do have some spots open for new directees right now, since I'm teaching less yoga and offering more spiritual direction. So if that's of interest to you, you can check that out on my website as well. There's a place to check the calendar and just find out more about it with some frequently asked questions. I'm teaching yoga online, which I didn't think I would like, and I love. So if you're available on Monday mornings, you can take your first Zoom yoga class with me for free. A link to that I'll send you in the follow-up. It's offered through the yoga studio in town that I co-own here, and but it's accessible to you anywhere in the world. And we've had people, I had someone from Hawaii the other day, which was so fun, because that would never have happened, right? Like, so cool. So you can pop in if you are interested in a gentle yoga and meditation practice and take that first class free. And then we're trying to make them really affordable, but also continue to support the studio. So that's a way you can also love on small business. And then my really exciting opportunity that I mentioned and I teased in my newsletter, I'm really excited that we're going to start a Peace Seekers, which is what we are. We are seeking God's peace in every moment. I'm starting a group that will be an ongoing support group with opportunities to take retreats and do group classes, group spiritual direction, different courses, and dive in deeper into these topics. And the first one is my book. So they were like, come up with your content. And I was like, I have content. So we're going to go through my book together over 40 days. It will start in August and go later in August and go into September. All of that is going to come out very, very soon. But I don't have the link for you to sign up tonight. Some would say that means I'm a horrible like salesperson, because I'm not a salesperson. So you're just going to have to wait for my email, and I'll send it to you when I have the course stuff figured out, because there's a whole lot to learn with getting that set up. And I wanted to be fully present with you tonight and not get my cart before my horse. So content's ready. This will give us an opportunity to do like live video interaction. I'll do live teachings on each of the elements in the book, which are aromatherapy, Lectio Divina, breath, prayer, journaling, and yoga. Sorry, you guys. I've only said that a bazillion times, and then I can't remember what my own book's about. So that will be a retreat experience through the book for 40 days together. And I am so pumped. I absolutely can't wait. That will be a paid experience opportunity that will support the ministry and support the studio. So I greatly thank you for that. But there will also be scholarship options available if needed. So don't hesitate to let me know based on where you're at. And let's see, was there anything on that page I'm supposed to say before we take our breath and move to the next one? So we're going to hit the reset button. We're going to start with ourselves, because we can't be present with the world around us and those we love and care about if we don't start with ourselves. My story taught me that, and yours does too. And the place we're at right now in this world, it invites us to go within ourselves, come within ourselves, connect with God within ourselves, so that we can be here as advocates, as allies, as peace seekers, as lovers of God and Christ followers, to represent that light in our world in a time that needs it now more than ever. So I would be honored to journey with you through any of these resources that fit your needs. And then this is a really great quote that someone I know said or wrote. It says, start where you are and be open to the fact that God longs to meet you there. Start where you are. Start with that one thing right here where you are. God wants to meet you here. It isn't about that faraway place of perfection or the place we put our teachers or our leaders or our mentors on and we think they're in. We're all human. We are all on a journey together. And we as leaders and teachers and caregivers must care for ourselves before we can care for one another. And guess what? You all are. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for showing up. I'm honored that you trust me with an hour of your life, first of all. We're going to open it up in just a second to have a little conversation, some questions that I know I really want to honor your time. And just know that you will get an email. I have to make notes because I won't remember because I get so excited. You'll get an email from me with the follow-up stuff on links. Check your spam. I know quite a few of you, I had to send that twice tonight because quite a few of you didn't get my first email. So maybe add me to your address list. But whatever you're feeling is honored, and God wants to meet you here, starting right now and tonight. So I would love to unmute and stop sharing my screen to pause and ask you, what's your one thing? What's your one thing you're going to do for yourself tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow? What's your one place you're going to start to reignite your soul and hit that little reset button? Anybody?
Well, this is Ivana.
Hi.
Hi. Well, for every day I'm on Zoom. I'm on Zoom. On Mondays I do meditation, and twice a week I do meditation. I do yoga. I do artwork. I do comedy. I have a Shakespeare class, art class, and and then I have a prayer line every night. So I'm busy. I'm keeping myself busy.
You are a busy lady.
Yeah, every day I'm on a Zoom class. So I keep myself, yeah, and I'm here, doing this so I have no interruption.
You're showing up.
Yes, and in the morning I get up, I do my devotion, I read my Bible, and I listen to the ministry on the TV in the morning from a certain time. So, I'm taking care of my soul, and I have Bible study. You mean I did tonight because our Bible study ended last week Wednesday. So every Wednesday night we had Bible study.
Well, I'm so grateful that technology is inviting you to lean in this way, Ivana, and really showing up. And I hope that you're able to be really present in all of those places. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm glad you came tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Anybody else? Or even what did you find helpful? If you don't want to tell me your one thing, it's okay. We've got a comment here from Haley that says she does yoga, meditation, reads her Bible, but her goal is to read her Bible first thing when she gets up instead of waiting until the end of the day. So awesome goal. Thank you, Haley, for sharing that.
Hi, everyone. I want to find that safe space, that quiet space somewhere in my house that my children are not going to find and take over. So that may take all of tonight and tomorrow.
Awesome. I'm proud of you can do it. Whatever, even if it's like a tiny little corner somewhere, it doesn't have to be extravagant. So good for you. You can do it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for everything. This is wonderful.
Yeah. And Tammy says she's going to start back with journaling because she hasn't done it in a long time. That's a good one for me too. It really does reignite my soul when I pick up that pen. Do we have questions or takeaways before we close? I know some of you have to sign off right at 8, and it is 8, and I want to honor your time, but I would love to hear from you if you have anything else to share. We have another comment that says, I appreciate the invitation to make an intention to a practice as I've let that lapse during this time. Just an intention. And it doesn't have to be hard, right? Baby steps and few minutes at a time. God is here. Do you feel refreshed after just showing up and be accountable to each other? Good. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Love the quote about God meeting us right where we are. Thank you for the help to refocus, restart the gratitude journal. Awesome. So good. Thank you, guys. I'm really appreciative that you took this hour to be present. It is good, Julia said, to see some familiar faces that she's retreated with, which is always fun. I know we don't know everybody on the call, but it is neat when you're like, hey. So virtual retreats are coming. I know it's a whole new world, but we're embracing new things, friends, and God is here, and I'm so grateful for the way God is meeting us in this season. Good, thank you. I'm reading your chats. Thank you. I'm gonna close this with a short prayer, and we'll end our. God, thank you so much for a safe space and the time to be apart with one another. Continue to remember that you are as near as our breath and that you long to meet us wherever we are. Thank you, God, for loving us, for caring for us, and for creating us. Be with us in these days to come, no matter what we're feeling. Thank you, guys. I'm so grateful for this time and really honored to walk with you in this way. And if I can be present with you in any of the resource ways I offered, please don't hesitate to let me know if you have questions, and I'll send a follow-up email with lots of links. So take care.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so good to meet all of you in real, or not in real life, but
Thank you, Whitney.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
It's so good to see your face.
So good to see your face. I'm so glad you were here. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you've healed well.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank
great night.
you. You too.
Rest well. Find some quiet.
You too.
Take care.